Ryne Kerchner. I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment for the Polytechnic Institute, and I want to welcome you to this YouTube broadcast specifically for admitted students to the Polytechnic at the West Lafayette campus of Purdue. Tonight's broadcast, we will be focusing on student experiences, what it's like to be a Polytechnic student, classes, academic, student life on campus, and basically just anything you want to know about that student perspective. We have some student ambassadors here with us today who are all Polytechnic students, so they're going to be answering your questions. They'll introduce themselves here in a minute. But first, a couple logistical things about getting involved with the chat. We want to hear from you, the questions that you have. So there's a chat room that you can join. You just need to log in with your Google account, and that way you can post some questions and get those answered. We're going to be reading those chats and those chat questions that you have and answering those as we go through the topics that we've prepared tonight. We also have a few of our student ambassadors in the chat room itself, so they're going to respond to those questions that they can answer for you as well. And if we don't get to your question tonight and you really want to ask us something, please feel free to email our techrecruit@purdue.edu email address. That's techrecruit@purdue.edu. We will respond to those as soon as we can. We got some questions earlier today that we're going to get to as well. But like I said, we have some topics already prepared. That way you can kind of hear from our students and what their experience is like in the Polytechnic and at Purdue. And with that, we'll go ahead and start with some introductions of our students who are joining us here on the panel, all remotely from their homes. So we'll start with Emmani.
Say hi, everyone. My name's Emmani Ellis. I'm from Lake Station, Indiana. It's Northwest Indiana. I am double majoring in mechatronics and robotics engineering technology with a minor in electrical engineering technology.
All right. And then Erin.
Oh, sorry. Hi, everybody. My name is Erin Cook. I am a junior majoring in animation and game development design with a minor in communication, and I am from Orland Park, Illinois.
All right, thanks, Erin. And then Lindsay Drake.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Drake. I'm from Algonquin, Illinois, which is a northwest suburb of Chicago. I'm majoring in organizational leadership and have a minor in human resource management.
All right. And then our other Lindsay, Lindsay Harper.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay. I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm a junior majoring in computer and information technology with a minor in organizational leadership, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, and then Orlando.
Hi, all. I'm Orlando Hernande. I'm from Goshen, Indiana. I'm majoring in construction management technology. I'm also minoring in CGT, which is computer graphics technology.
Excellent. We're waiting on one more of our ambassadors. He's running a little late, and he's in aviation. I think he's professional flight is his major. His name is Jacob Bartholome, so he'll join us here shortly, hopefully, and we'll be able to hear from him from that department as well. So we have all 6 of our academic departments represented from our student ambassadors here. And Orlando, let's go ahead and start with you. How did you find out about the Polytechnic, and how did you choose that major specifically?
So I found out about the Polytechnic. So actually, I applied for engineering to Purdue first and civil engineering. And I was just unaware at the time. I knew I wanted to be in the construction industry myself. I just was unaware of what sector of construction I wanted to do. So I was like, maybe civil engineering. But then I also heard by some of my teachers from my high school who have been in the construction management program through the Polytechnic and Purdue. They told me about to check that out. So I checked it out and went through the websites. And the website was the first time on the Polytechnic website was the first time I saw the construction management program. So it really caught my eye, and I was looked into it more and really ended up pretty much just dropping civil engineering and going to construction management and applied for that and got in overall.
All right, very cool. And then same question, Erin. You're doing a double major, so what made you decide to do 2 majors now?
So I at first came in just in animation. And I just kind of thought that was what I was going to do. But then once I got here, I realized that it was really, really easy to pick up double majors, even triple majors. Yeah, like I started off in animation, and then all of the classes kind of like, they all start with the same general like computer graphics classes before they all branch out. And each major only has like a handful of classes that are like different from each other, so then it's really easy just kind of like to not get overwhelmed by all the different classes. It's just really easy to do. So yeah, I went from at one point I was up to 3 different majors, and then I realized I was a little crazy, and so I dropped it down back to 2. It's super easy to be done.
All right. And then Lindsay Drake, how did you fall on your major now?
Yeah, so I also have switched my major. So I originally came in the user experience design program, also in the Polytechnic. Great program, have nothing but good things to say about it, but realized that it wasn't really for me, just because I realized that I kind of wanted to focus more on the human and business interactions than the more technical things that user experience design was doing. So switched over to organizational leadership so I could pursue a degree in organizational leadership, but then also go into hopefully management consulting after graduation. So it was just a better fit for me. And I found it through I found user experience design because Purdue is one of the only schools that has an undergraduate program for user experience design. And it's absolutely fantastic. And then I found organizational leadership because as a Polytechnic ambassador, I just kind of knew all of the different majors that the Polytechnic had. So.
All right, very cool. I'm glad you found a better fit for you then, and easy to make that switch for you. And then Lindsay Harper, how did you fall into your major now?
So for me, Purdue was actually my top choice of schools. And I remember when I was trying to figure out what major I wanted to apply to for all schools that I applied to, most of the schools that I applied to were in computer science, but I was applying computer science knowing that that wasn't really what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be a software engineer, and that's what they're kind of grooming you to be. I knew I wanted to go into information technology, and I wanted to still be in that technical realm, but then I wanted to be able to tailor it to what I wanted to do post-college. And when I came to Purdue, I immediately knew that the only major I wanted to apply to was computer information technology. And then from there, after I was able to apply to it and after I got accepted, then I was able to add an organizational leadership minor to it and really tailor it to what I want to do after college. So that's why Purdue is on the top of my list for me.
Yeah, same. Glad you were able to find that extra minor for yourself to kind of go into different areas that you want to focus in on. And then Emmani, you mentioned you have a double major. How did you get into those majors?
So when I was in high school, we took a trip to like Subaru, one of the car factories, and I saw the assembly line. I saw the robots are working on there, and it just really amazed me. And so I was doing my research to find colleges that were really good at the engineering field. And I came across Purdue, more specifically the Polytechnic, and I was reading in more so what mechatronics was, a mix of mechanical and electrical. And just looking at what that was, it was exactly what I had seen on the assembly line. And it was exactly what I wanted to do. So that's how I came across and fell into my major.
All right,
Yeah.
very nice. Well, let's kind of go from there. We'll stick with you, Emmani. And what kind of things that you saw at that Subaru plant, that tour? What are your classes and labs like that are doing the similar things? Are you seeing those same connections right now? What kind of talk us about how your classes and your labs are in your major?
All right. So a lot of my classes are very collaborative. So you have lectures, but to pair with those lectures, you also have labs. And most of those labs, in all of those labs, actually, you'll always be working with others. And so what I saw in the Subaru plant was how do I say this? The robots in there, you see the finished product, but here at Purdue, since I'm just a freshman, I'm learning the C programming behind that. I'm learning all the fundamentals, working me up to get to that. So in my labs, in my classes, I'm learning the basics of how to going towards my goal to get to the robots that I've seen in the factory.
Very cool. Good. You're getting that foundation level. It's kind of get prepared for that. Let's switch back over to Lindsay Harper. Do the same thing. What's your classes and labs like? What are your projects like in your classes?
So what I really like, and kind of going off of what Emmani was saying, in addition to all of the lectures that we have, starting from first semester freshman year, you always have a lab component to go with the classes that are in your major. In addition to that, what I really like about the Polytechnic is that you take classes in all of the majors within your department. So I'm in the computer information technology department, and that's comprised of the general computer information technology major, cybersecurity, network engineering technology, and systems analysis and design. And so as a general CIT student, I'm able to take the classes in cybersecurity and network engineering and systems analysis. I've taken all of those classes And I've taken labs that are corresponded to that. So I can really figure out if I want to take selectives in any of those like core areas of focus later on down the road. And I think being able to have a major where I'm flexible enough to take other classes and also have a department where it's encouraged to take other classes really ensures that I'm kind of like proficient in all of the different subjects.
Oh, that's really good to get those options within your department to do that. Very nice. And we're going to switch tracks real quick. Jacob, can you hear me and maybe unmute yourself to see if we can hear and see you as well? Okay, I'm going to take that as no, we can't right now. So we'll see if we can get that fixed in. So let's move on then to Lindsay Drake. How are your organizational leadership classes? What are those like for your department?
Yeah, so I actually just started those this semester since I just switched my major into organizational leadership. So currently I'm taking kind of some of the freshman foundational classes as well as some sophomore level classes. One class I'm in right now is TI 213, which is project management. I work in a group of 6 students, and we go through the entire project management process. So we start from day one, figuring out what your project is, who all the stakeholders are, all of that, and then moving through all of the processes, budgets, all the different things that you have to do to then manage that project. So we don't actually do the project, if you will, but we're taking all the steps so that at the end of the class, we have what we're calling a binder, which has all of the information that if we were to have this project actually be completed, we could just give that binder to someone and they'd be able to complete the entire thing. So lots of really hands-on, just able to get right in there and actually do the work that you're going to be doing post-graduation, which is really, really beneficial.
Very, very cool. And then Erin, tell us about your classes and what kind of software are you utilizing within your majors right now?
So for computer graphics, we use like programs that are very much like in use in the actual industry. The biggest one that you'll very quickly be familiar with is Autodesk Maya, at least for the animation, game development, and visual effects majors. You'll get very comfortable with those programs. That's the main animation program that's really out there that companies actually use. Also, visual effects majors use like the use. That's also really common to be used, and like it's from kind of like your freshman year, like second semester, like you just kind of jump into it and they'll teach you the program as if you've never learned it before. So if you do have some like on your own experience, you might have messed around with Blender or something, they will teach you as if you know nothing. So then you learn everything on the same level. Everybody kind of gets the same type of information and you can build up from there. And there's a lot of room for specializations if you want to go into different areas of animation that you kind of want to explore. It's really interesting. You can kind of cater it to whatever you want it to do, but also you're still going down the general like animation or game development track so that everyone's on the same pace, but at the same time, they're all doing their own special things, which is really good when you want to meet different people in different areas and network type of thing.
Very cool. And then Orlando, kind of walk us through your class experiences, your labs, your projects.
Oh yeah, for sure. So my labs as freshman in construction management and lectures mostly maintain of just having the of learning that basic steps of just fundamental of how to build the buildings. And so we just learn in the lab we will be building an actual wooden structure in the actual lab which has a active crane downstairs, and then we'll build a steel structure while using the crane. So just understanding how the building is put together. Then now going to my sophomore year, we learn a little bit more about that management part, which is the construction management, as you're aware. So we get to learn more about the aspect about just the business side of it. So we learn the financial, scheduling, estimating, and then learn how to just talk to subcontractors, architects, engineers, and then we just talk about a lot more about that business side of the aspect. And some of the elective classes we take would be such classes as computer graphics and technologies like AutoCAD, Revit, PIM, BIM, and then we also take some other classes such as leadership, classes such as TOI, team leadership, introduction, entrepreneurship classes, and then some financial and management classes as electives, which all tie in really great.
Yeah, nice. So I know we just spent a lot of time talking about what our classes typically like, and we've gotten a lot of questions already of what are classes like now that everything is online? So I just want to kind of address that. Obviously, we can't have you in the labs right now since nobody's here on campus. So what is the new environment like in your classes? And Orlando, we'll start with you, since obviously yours is a very hands-on major, building buildings, so you can't do that now. So what has the transition been like? What are you doing now to kind of still get that learning experience?
No, that's very accurate, Ryan. It's very hands-on, and it's most of our thing is project-led. Our projects are during the semester. We have projects usually 4 projects that we work with teams of 4 people or more, and have to do these projects together. But now our professors have, taken the task of trying to figure out how to figure out these new labs and lectures for us, and I would say they've done a pretty good job. So for labs, we've been doing mostly just like scheduling, estimating. So since we can't go to that project aspect of like working in teams that much, we also have like little mini projects, I would say, where we have to work on like estimating or scheduling the labs within our computers. So we're still getting the learning, which is very nice, but it's not the full-on cooperative collaborating with people. Sometimes we will, join a call with some of my other classmates, be like, hey, what are you doing with this? How are you going about it? But it's not meeting in person anymore, as you are aware.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Lindsay Harper, what is your situation like now?
So right now, I really have to applaud all of my professors because I couldn't transition like they can. But basically, for me, we don't take the Zoom classes that most people are taking. What happens is on the days that we have normal lectures, my professors will send out a pre-recorded lecture for us to watch and take notes on, and they actually can track who's watching the lecture, and that's how you get your participation points for the course. And so for each of my courses, I have certain participation courses certain participation points that make up a percentage of my course. And then after that, for in particular, all of my CIT classes, they release a lab, and that lab can be done online. And normally it's using some of the software that we have installed in our computers, like Visual Studio or something like that. But if we can't, they'll give us access to a software. So for example, in one of my classes, I'm using MongoDB and I don't have that software. So they gave me an online code to access that online. And then the labs are due 1 week from when they're given. And so that's pretty much the standard for all of my CIT classes. And I think that really works well because they're kind of like ensuring that we are, one, if there are any problems, that they get taken care of, but 2, they're ensuring that like our transition is smooth, and they're still giving us kind of like the same they're still giving us kind of like the same experience that we would have in college, where you have the lecture and you have that and you have to get it done in a certain time, but they're not being over strenuous on us.
All right, well, it's good that they're making some adjustments, obviously, to this new situation that we're all in. And then, Erin, do you want to comment a little bit more about how things have transitioned for you as well?
Sure. So basically, it was really similar to what Lindsay was saying. It's a lot of pre-recorded lectures these days, instead of kind of live streaming. A lot of professors, they'll release their slides as PDFs on Blackboard or like kind of class manager. And then you kind of can go and like look at the slides, and then they usually upload it to like YouTube or onto the course page themselves. And you can just watch them down, put them on 2x speed, and they go by a lot faster. And so you're able, at least that's how they do the lecture components. They've been doing a lot more quizzes for participation. They just ask a couple questions just to make sure you actually watched it. In terms of bigger projects, for CGT, computer graphics technology, a lot of our programs, you can kind of get them just with student licenses, which is basically if you have like a college university affiliated email, you can get the program for a limited time for free just because you're a student. And so a lot of the programs that I've been using are available that way. So I already had them, but if you don't, for whatever reason, it's really not hard to get them. And if you don't have a like computer or anything that can support them or anything, then there's also the virtual like setup that you can work out with the university to be able to get like a virtual desktop setup. And then in terms of communication with professors, I don't know if many other people are doing this, but a lot of my professors have jumped on Discord, and now we have Discord channels with our professors. And so it's a little interesting, but it is working surprisingly well. We have different channels for different parts of the course, one for announcements, one for like assignments, and then one for like if you want feedback. And so it's kind of definitely atypical, but it's working pretty well. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, good. Again, the adjustment to this whole situation is very new, obviously, and glad to see some different opportunities are being taken advantage of for the faculty to get connected, stay connected with the students. I'm gonna try one more time. Jacob, can you try to chat in with us and see if you're there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Hey, there you are. How's it going? Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? What major were you from? That kind of thing.
So I'm a fourth semester student in professional flight, and I'm from Muncie, Indiana, so not too far from Purdue, just about 2 hours east. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. So I'm gonna stick with you now, and we get some questions from our chat about professional flight. How are things working now? Obviously, you're not flying, I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah, so unfortunately, due to all this, we're not allowed to fly out of the airport. They were trying to put together a pretty aggressive plan to try to get university and state, maybe, I'm not sure what levels they had to go through, approval to continue letting us fly, since it is one student and one instructor in the plane at a time. Unfortunately, that we're not allowed to do that until at least July, but come that time, at the airport, they are going to be ready as soon as they're told yes. They're ready to let us come back and start flying, and hopefully they're going to be able to get everybody from spring caught back up before fall starts, or maybe at the beginning of fall, so that fall doesn't get pushed back.
Yeah, I mean, we're all hoping for that. And as of right now, just as a heads up for everybody watching, right now we are still planning on the fall semester being a normal fall semester. That decision, if needs to be changed, will certainly be communicated with all of you at home, or all of our admitted students, as soon as possible when that decision is made, if a change is going to happen. So just keep an eye on your emails, because that's where that information is going to come from. Our Office of Admissions most likely will be sending that out, but just kind of keep an eye on that. But right now, everything's planned. They're supposed to be planned as a normal fall semester as it would have been without all this stuff happening. So just like I said, keep an eye on everything on your emails, and you'll see some announcements if anything needs to change for that. So let's move on to a little bit of different question. And Emmani, we'll start with you for this one. Tell us what it's like. You've gone through your freshman year and almost completed. And what is it like meeting with your academic advisor and registering for classes and talking about you have your double major. How does that fit into your plan of study and adjusting what you take in terms of your courses?
All right, yeah. So when it came to scheduling, communicating with my advisor was pretty simple, especially going to STAR. Unfortunately, you guys won't be able to go to STAR on campus, but when I went to STAR on campus, it was just a time set up. I went there, met with her. She went through the overview of what I had to take for the next 4 years. She gave me a paper. I got to keep it. I didn't know about double majoring until later on in the semester when the school got started, and I started talking to other people and seeing what they were doing. But adding another major was not hard. I just had to go back and talk to her, shoot her an email, things of that nature. The two majors, they're actually really, really similar. So it's only a few classes that are different between mechatronics and robotics. It's really only a few that's different. Communicating with the advisors, they're super nice. They'll do everything that they can for you. They'll let you know ahead of time. You need to schedule. It's really easy working with your advisors.
All right, very cool. And then Lindsay Drake, since you changed your major, how did you manage that? What does that process look like for anybody who's maybe considering that, or what just kind of wants to know what that process is like to go from one department to another in the Polytechnic?
Yeah, so obviously there are different requirements between departments and between colleges on campus. So if you're looking to switch between colleges, that might look a little different. Since I stayed with Polytechnic, it was honestly pretty easy. All I really had to do, I met with the organizational leadership advisor, and said, hey, look, I'm trying to switch into organizational leadership. What do I need to do? And that day we picked out my classes. So it was honestly pretty easy. I just then went back to my old CGT advisor and said, here's what I'm going to take. He gave me my PIN number so I could go and register for classes, and that was it. So it honestly is not that difficult. If you've decided that if you've gone through some of your classes and maybe you want to switch to something else within the Polytechnic, it's honestly pretty easy to do, which is really nice. And working with the advisors is so easy. My current advisor is one of the nicest ladies I've ever met. She makes sure that I have everything that I need to do and to write down and all of that so that I can be as prepared as possible.
Very nice. Yeah, we have some awesome academic advisors, and they get to know you. They work with you on what your schedule is, what you're wanting to do. And Lindsay Harper, you said you have an OL minor, correct? How does that process work in terms of adding a minor into your plan of study?
So I declared my minor, I believe, first semester freshman year. Yeah, I declared my minor pretty early on. And basically I realized that I wanted to add something that was kind of like a little bit more on the business side of technology in with my already technical major. And so at the time, my advisor, she called me into her office to do like planning for the following semester. I told her I wanted to add an organizational leadership minor. She advised me on some classes that I should consider taking the following semester, and then just penciled it in on my schedule. And it was as simple as that.
Wow. All right. Well, that's pretty easy then. Nice. And then same, actually, you might know this answer, Lindsay. A double major with cybersecurity and network engineering technology. How does that work? Is that pretty easy to accomplish?
Yeah. So I was a cybersecurity major for 2.5 years. I came in as computer information technology, switched over to cybersecurity, and then switched back at the beginning of the semester. And when I was a cybersecurity major, a lot of the people I took classes with were double majoring in network engineering technology, because a lot of the classes that you take for network engineering overlap with cybersecurity, just because you need to have a lot of those networking skills in cybersecurity. So I believe it's just a few more classes and you have a double major. So it's a really common thing to do for people to double major in those.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously Erin's doing a double major and Emmani's doing a double major. So yeah, as long as you work with your advisor and talk about the plans of study, especially with those overlap courses in plans of study, yeah, just if you're interested in doing that, that's the starting point, is your academic advisor, or the minor thing as well, or certificate programs that are available on campus. Like there's entrepreneurship and innovation certificate. A lot of people do that. So yeah, just talk with your advisor, see what is available out there, if what interests you and how it can work in your plan of study. Very easy to make that stuff happen. And then let's switch back to Erin, or actually, this is kind of a question. Just raise your hand because I can see you all here. Who had AP credits coming into Purdue? Okay, so half of our panelists, it looks like. And Emmani, I can't see your hand, but maybe you're raising it or not. So Jacob, what AP credits did you have, and how did they transfer in? Like, what kind of score did you have to get to make that happen?
So I think it depended on me. It was different for different classes. So the one that I transferred that got me out of a class was AP Statistics. I believe that was a 4 or 5. I think I got a 4 on that exam. And statistics was a required class for my major, so that was nice to have one less class I had to take. I also got a 3, I think, on the environmental science AP test. So that got me just elective credit. It wasn't a class that I had to take. It wasn't anything that got me out of a class, but it got me elective credit. So that was one less thing that I had to take and gave me a little more room for flexibility in my schedule and other courses, either that I was interested in or for a minor. And then also had some, I don't know if it falls in the same category here, dual credit. Those transferred similar to the environmental science as elective credit as well.
Okay, and Lindsay Drake, I saw your hand go up as well. What courses did you bring in with credit from AP?
Yeah, so I brought in, I believe, 15 credits, some of which kind of counted for things and some of which were just general credits. So I believe, like Jacob was saying, I took AP Environmental Science and also got a 3 on that, which came in as a certain science elective that my like courses needed. It wasn't a specific course, but it took care of a requirement, so that was really nice. I also had English that came in and took care of SCLA 101. So I took AP Literature and Lang. I believe Literature is the one that covered that. I'm not entirely positive. And then I had Psychology, which I also believe came in as a general elective credit. And then AP Calculus AB, which I got a 4 on the test and ended up getting out of, I believe I want to say it's Calculus 1, but I'm not sure. So I actually didn't end up having to take any math when I came to Purdue because that was the only true math credit that I needed. So I'm in statistics now, but that's the only close to math kind of thing that I needed.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks for sharing those examples. For those who are wondering, there is a website through the Office of Admissions that runs through the entire AP credit list and what courses are covered and what score you need to get in terms of getting that credit here at Purdue. So really the simplest way is just Google Purdue AP credit, and it's going to be one of the first results on that search you do. That's how I found it, and now I have it bookmarked, so it's easy for me to find it. But yeah, definitely check that out if you are taking AP credits or those exams coming up, or if you already had those exams completed from last year or before that. Go ahead and check that out because you'll certainly get some credit if you earn those. Typically 4s and 5s are what we see getting credit here at Purdue, and how they work into your plan of study as well. So I'm going to switch back over to Lindsay Harper because we've got some questions about internships and specifically for CIT, that department, but in general, and then we'll kind of branch out to other students as well. Tell us about some of the internships you've experienced and you've had and how you found those as well.
Yeah, so I have completed 2 internships, and I'm going to be going on to my 3rd internship for my junior year. One thing that I really love about the Polytechnic is that they push us to go out and get those real world hands-on opportunities. And there are also a lot of departments within the Polytechnic Institute that make it a requirement to have a certain number of hours. I know in CIT, it's a minimum of 240 hours that of IT professional experience that you must have in order to graduate. So I got most of my internships from career fairs at Purdue or outside conferences that Purdue helped me sponsor, and they helped sponsor me because I had already gotten a partial scholarship from some of those conferences. So my freshman year, I interned with Dell as a senior anti-fraud analyst. I received that offer from the Purdue Career Fair, the Purdue Computer Information Technology Career Fair on campus, which is one of the 2 career fairs that are dedicated solely for the CIT department. And then last year, I received an offer from Bank of America to go work for them in New York City as a global information security analyst. I received that from an outside conference. And then this year, I am going to be a technical program manager intern at Intel in a few weeks. Starting here in my house. It's very sad, but yeah, I received that from a conference that Purdue actually helped partially sponsor me because I reached out to them for help because I couldn't fund it myself, and they were really helpful with that. So yeah, the Polytechnic is really, really good about making sure that you get opportunities and then also helping you along the way.
Nice, very cool. Emmani, I think you have an internship coming up this summer. Do you want to tell us about that as well?
Yeah, so I actually went to get my internship. They say freshman, they don't usually get internships freshman year. That's what they say, but I say that you should always take your chance. So I took my chance and went to the industrial roundtable that Purdue hosts every year where almost over 400 companies come. I found a local company called South Lake Automation. They focus on industrial automation, so they build the control panels and the robots that go into factories like Kimberly and Clark and on Subaru. So they're like the engineering solutions company. So I went and took my chance and talked to them, and I actually have an internship working for them this summer coming up. Yeah, I start in about 4 weeks, pending the whole COVID-19 situation calms down. Yeah.
Well, I hope that works out. And anybody else with internships coming up this summer or past internships, go ahead and just raise your hand and I'll call on you. All right, Lindsay, what was your internship?
Yeah, so last year, I had an internship over the summer. I was still in user experience design, and I took an internship as a freshman at SDI Innovations, which is just about 10 minutes down the road from campus. And basically, it's a great starting internship for anyone in the CGT departments. So what the sub company that I worked for there was School Day Books. So we made the assignment notebooks that you see in elementary, middle, high schools, businesses, all sorts of those kind of things. And we'd be formatting different pages to make sure that all of the content was there and looked okay when the schools didn't want to format it themselves, which was a really cool opportunity to kind of get to know some Adobe software and get to know other people in the department.
Very nice. And Jacob, I saw your hand kind of go maybe a little bit internship.
Yeah, so I just wanted to throw in there, unfortunately, due to this situation with mine being, I got an internship at Delta Airlines, and then unfortunately to the situation we're in, it's no longer happening this summer. Hopefully, fall or next summer, I might be able to do something with them still. But I did want to mention it because it was through Purdue that I was able to get that. I wouldn't have known about that opportunity if it wasn't for the coordinator that sends out emails about she pulls information from everywhere and sends us every week new internship opportunities, job opportunities, and that's how I found out about that. Wouldn't have gotten the chance for that. And then everybody at Purdue that I was able to pull from to get me prepared for the different interviews I had to go through to get that. So it wasn't just me alone. It was through Purdue that I was able to get that. So I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of good resources and opportunities to get connected across the entire university, specifically the Polytechnic as well. I just want to mention we have a Polytechnic-wide career fair every February. So all of our departments and companies related to our fields are represented there. Individual departments host their own career fairs as well. And Orlando, I'm going to come to you here in a minute, but construction management has 2 career fairs. Aviation technology has 2 as well, or computer information technology, I believe, has a couple. And I'm going to get to Orlando because I just want to hear about your internships, and then I'm going to turn it back to Lindsay Harper to ask a specific question about who's at our career fairs specific to some government agencies. But there's the Center for Career Opportunities that has career fairs and resources. They'll do mock interviews. They work with you on your resume. They'll kind of help you with that whole process of applying and interviewing. So yeah, there's industry connections to our faculty and advisors. So yeah, you're not going to find a shortage of ways to get those opportunities out there. So Orlando, I know you've had a couple internships. You want to share a little bit about that and where you were for those as well?
Yeah, I guess I'll just go off base the beginning. So before I even came to Purdue, I actually had an internship before my freshman year, and that was just through networking I had in my local area. So I got to work commercial construction and got to work on some high-end luxury apartments in my local area. But then actually once being at Purdue, as you said, I kind of want to retouch on the resources part you touched on. The resources at Purdue is abundant amount. Like there's an astounding amount of resources that you can use to faculty to just the CCO, the Career Center of Opportunities, how they helped me build my resume up. Were very professional and helped me rewrite my resume multiple times. So I got to go to a career fairs, as you said. We have 2, once in the fall and one in the spring. I went to the first one, got 5 interviews, nothing fell through, but went through the second one in springtime. That's my freshman year. I got 10 interviews and I got 4 offers. So I ended up going to San Francisco that summer. And I went to San Francisco for 3 months and got to work with a company out there who did commercial construction. So got to see some small industrial projects from digesters to working at the second biggest skyscraper to be built in San Francisco. So that was really cool. They were on I think we were I got to stand on the 68th floor, which was really cool, looking over San Francisco and seeing the hills. So that was a beautiful time. And the company was very helpful in helping me finance my relocation, paying my apartment, transportation, and then my actual weekly wage. And then coming back to Purdue, I got an offer to go back with them, but I went to the career fair to give myself opportunities to see what I really want to try out. So I ended up wanting to try a different company out this time, just because of I just wanted to go to a different sector of construction. So I ended up going to a healthcare sector, and this summer I will be working in Chicago with this company called Michelin Construction, who works on hospitals. And right now they're actually very busy, so I might even be starting my internship a little bit early on from the office aspect, not working on the projects right now because they don't want to risk their interns. Because a lot of the clinics down there in Illinois are being transferred into air ventilated rooms for the what's going on right at the moment. But yeah.
Wow, it sounds like some really cool opportunities for sure. And then Lindsay, we had a question, and maybe you might be able to answer this, is do we see federal agencies like the CIA, FBI, NSA that attend our career fairs for students, maybe more geared towards the cybersecurity area or your department in general?
Yeah, definitely. I have seen the NSA at our CIT career fairs. I've seen the CIA as well. I have not seen FBI, but there was one career fair I missed, so they might have been at that one. And also we have big career fairs that are for Purdue students in general, like Industrial Roundtable. And so a lot of the government agencies may go to those as well. And also a lot of people are getting internship opportunities with government agencies through emails that are being sent out to them. So I have a friend who interned last summer with Department of Defense I think she was down in Quantico, Virginia. And that was because she received a notification through one of like the email servers. So.
Very nice. And then Erin, you're in the CGT department. What kind of internships do you see students go into? We got a question from an email earlier about animation. What kind of internships do you see from that major specifically?
So for animation and game development and visual effects, you can kind of lump them in the same one since they're all entertainment based. But the internships are definitely out there, but I'm going to be honest, they can be a little bit competitive to get at times. It's because there's just a lot of different people going for it. And so sometimes you have to kind of find different ways to go about getting your internships. And so for me, what worked decently well was like going to external conferences. Like I went to the Grace Hopper conference and I had the opportunity to network with some really cool people, some really good people in industry. Some of the contacts that I made with them didn't completely fall through, but I think just like the practice is still there. It's good to have. I feel like a lot of students have found success in staying like locally at like Purdue in that area. Like personally, my internship that I was working on during this semester was with one of the professors on campus. And so he kind of set up his own company and was working alongside a startup, and we were kind of working to get that up and running and kind of, because it was a simulation that we were working on. And so we were kind of, there was a lot of students that were basically from Purdue, and we were all kind of working there, and it was really interesting. It was like a kind of twofold. It was really cool because like you got like the making like a game, making like a simulation experience, but also you got the whole like startup company experience. So you kind of got to think outside the box sometimes, but the opportunities are definitely still there. So.
Very cool. So I just real quick want to give a shout out to our student ambassadors who are in the chat responding to your questions right now. I think John, our technical director, is telling me that there's a lot of questions coming in. And so I just want to say thanks to our ambassadors and thanks for the questions that are coming in as well. We really appreciate your viewership and your questions. This is really helping us give you some good insight, hopefully to the Polytechnic in Purdue. So all the students that you've heard from so far, they are Polytechnic student ambassadors. So they work with us typically on campus, obviously, to give tours, talk to our admitted and prospective students and share that student perspective like they're doing right now. But I want to hear from you all about what other involvement you have in organizations on campus. So Emmani, we'll start with you.
Sorry about that. So some of the organizations that I'm in on campus, I'm in Women in Technology. I'm also in AMET, which is All Majors Engineering Technology. I'm also in Boiler Tracks, which is kind of like a minority recruitment club. Then I am in Polytechnic Ambassadors. And I want to get into like horticulture, like gardening club next year. I kind of want to try something different next year. So, but that's just something I want to try new. Yeah.
All right, so a variety of different options to get involved, and just as I should have started with this, but we have about 1,000 clubs and organizations here at Purdue, so there's a lot of opportunities to get involved. Obviously, outside of the classroom, we always recommend trying to get involved within a couple organizations. One that's maybe related to your academic major, and then one that's more social, more fun, just kind of give you that time to de-stress and kind of get involved with meeting other people around campus. So Orlando, what other organizations are you involved in?
Yeah, myself, I'm also involved in Latino Student Union. That's just like kind of a Latino students, right? We set up events for the LCC Latino Cultural Center to have, free food. So we'll have like tamales, pozole, make that for free for the students to come and eat. We'll have study sessions in the our actual cultural center there, the house we have. Then we'll do like dancing and show them cultural dances we have. And then I'm also part of Run Club. I might be dropping that this year, but I was doing that for the track and field portion during the spring semester, and that was always really fun for me. I like to do run hurdle, so that was just kind of my de-stressor right there. Have fun there with my friends. I'm also part of a residential hall club for Purdue Village, which is called Squirrel Club. It's not just watching squirrels, I promise. But it's so that club we just set up events for all the residents in Purdue Village. So we got to go on ski trips. We were gonna go to Chicago, but that happened around the time that coronavirus was, occurring. So we did not plan that trip. We canceled that trip, but we had a lot of cool events with that bonfire, cookouts for the residents there. So that was a fun time. And then also part of a National Association of Home Builders, or NHAB, and that's just a competition team that I'm part of, where we go out to Vegas, and I think next year we'll be going out to Florida, Orlando, my city, and then we'll be doing a competition there about project bids, and it's an actual project that's occurring like real life project occurring in 40 to 50 universities. I believe it was like 45 universities from all around the world went to Vegas this past January, and they just presented their bid to these actual construction companies, executives, and they just gave us feedback back on what we did. And it was a cool event. It was for 5 weeks, and it was at the biggest construction conventions event in the nation, in the U.S. So we got to look at all these different companies and all these cool utilities they have, like Mercedes, Ford was there, so that was very cool. And besides that, I would want to say that's all I'm part of at the moment. I want to like go to other activities, but yes.
Yeah, that's all, just 4 or 5 different things, cool Friday nights. Then Lindsay Harper, what are you involved in?
So in addition to being a Polytechnic ambassador, I'm also a Boiler Mentor, which is a mentorship program that pairs upperclassmen with minority freshmen that are coming in. In addition to that, I am the vice president of the Women in Technology organization at Purdue. And I also run the Witty Sisters program, which is a mentorship program for women in technology, where we pair upperclassmen with freshmen that are just coming into the Polytechnic.
I'm going to ask you a follow-up question about the Women in Technology, and Emmani mentioned it before. What are some of the things that WIT does on campus for our students?
Oh gosh, we do a lot. So Women in Technology is kind of like, it's grown a lot more. There is the Women in Technology organization, which is the club on campus, which you have to pay $10 a semester to become a member, and anybody can become a member of that club. There is the Witty Sisters aspect, which is the mentorship program, and that's free for everybody that wants to join, and you can apply to be a mentor or a mentee. And then there is the Women in Technology class, which is run by Ms. Tony. And so that is a first semester seminar for freshman women. And then there is the Women in Technology learning community, which is the living learning community. So I'm saying all that to say that you can be a part of one aspect of Women in Technology, or you can be a part of all of them. So you really have different options to like kind of pick and choose what you want to get involved in Women in Technology, and I would highly recommend it. It shaped my life, it changed it drastically, and I love all aspects of that organization.
So I'm assuming then, did you participate in the WIT learning community as well?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us about that experience? And we're going to kind of transition from that to other learning. If anybody else is participating in the learning community as well, just kind of share your experiences.
So I was in the Women in Technology learning community my freshman year, but because my housing was a little funky, I wasn't able to live in the community that they were in. However, They did a really, really great job of making sure that I was incorporated. I was in their floor group chats. I was on their floor every night. I was at their floor meetings and everything like that, doing like all of the events. In the Women in Technology Learning community, you live together. This year they're going to be in Meredith South, which I'm really jealous of because it's a new dorm that was being built. Last time I was on campus, it was still being built. So it's like brand new. And so if you're in that community, you live on a floor together. And then you also, everybody on that floor participates in a first semester seminar, which is the Women in Technology class. So through that class, you have industry leaders come in and they talk about their experiences as being a woman and a minority within the industry that they're in. So we had people that were in different computer graphics, animation. We had pilots that were coming in, people who were CEOs, software engineers. It was just a wide mix of people of women that were coming in and talking to us, and it was really inspiring. And then outside, some of the activities that I remember doing were combined with the Women in Technology Club, but we went to Exploration Acres, which is a corn maze. We had a Bob Ross painting night, which was really fun. We went to the Wolf Park. We went to shows and different plays. So, and everything was free. So it was a really great way to get to know other people on my floor and also get to know other people that were in the organization.
That's really good. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of different things that WIT does in a lot of different capacities. So yeah, we're trying to make sure we support all of our students, and certainly, women I think makes up about 20% of our student population and our enrollment in the Polytechnic. So we're trying to grow that number, and opportunities like WIT really help, I think, keep our female students here and successful. Absolutely. Any other participants in learning communities? Go and raise your hand so I can. Erin, what other, were you involved with? What learning community?
I was in a learning community. Oh, I don't remember the name. It was like culture, creativity, and literature or something like that. It was basically like a mix with some people from the College of Liberal Arts and then some people from computer graphics technology. And we kind of came together and talked about how like kind of like English and like literature and all that can like blend together with like computer graphics. I don't know if this learning community still exists, which is why I was kind of like on the fence about it. But yeah, it was a really fun time. We didn't exactly live together. It was kind of co-ed, so I don't know how that would have worked out. But we were co-ed and like we took classes together. Like for me, it ended up manifesting that I would take my entry level like English classes, like I guess it's SCLA or something. Basically the entry level English courses I would take my learning community. And then when I would go off to take my CGT courses, I would take it with the CGT people, the computer graphics people that were in that learning community. And then outside of that, we would meet and we'd kind of like go out for dinner. Like we went to Nine Irish a couple times, which is like this kind of like Irish pub near Purdue. We also had like a couple game nights where we would like our kind of the teacher in charge of one of our classes, she would like bring her PlayStation and we'd play like Spider-Man for like 2 hours. And so it was just kind of like same type of vibe where it's like you kind of meet these people in your learning community, you get to know them really well, and they get to be really close friends. And a couple of them I still do talk to. I haven't lately because of reasons, but yeah, I still stay in contact with a lot of those people. So it's a really good time if you can find one that fits what you want to be learning about in the community.
Yeah, I just want to mention in terms of learning communities in general, the priority deadline for applications is tomorrow. And in order to complete that application, you also need to submit your housing contract. So that does require that you accept your offer of admissions, pay your deposit, and then you get access to that portal, I think 48 hours. So hopefully you would have done that acceptance before today. You might still be able to, you can still apply for learning communities after the 15th tomorrow. And I think you have until June 5th for that application. Just keep in mind that you may not have as good of a chance chance to get involved in that learning or admitted to that learning community after tomorrow's deadline, but certainly still apply. We don't want to discourage you. There are learning communities for all, but I think one of our academic departments. So check out our profiles. I think it's learningcommunities.purdue.edu could probably get you there to see the learning communities for Polytechnic. And then there's a bunch of universal learning communities, meaning anybody from any major can join it. Those are more based on different interest areas or things you want to get involved in a more specific formal capacity like the learning community itself. We did have one question about learning communities and why are off-campus students not allowed to be part of learning communities, and that is because of the funding model that we have. So learning communities are funded through our university residences here at Purdue. So we want our students to live in the space, take the classes, and get involved in those activities. And so that will be part of that is living on the residence hall to have that connection and part of that funding model that we have. So definitely get involved if you can, if you're planning on living on campus. It's definitely a good experience to join those learning communities, take those classes, build that connection with those other students and those faculty and instructors right away during that first semester. Yeah, we'll move on to some other just kind of one-off questions. And Jacob, I'm going to turn over to you real quick. Do you know if it's possible to study abroad as a professional flight major?
Yeah, it is. There's actually a globalization requirement, and it's really easy to fulfill. We take a survey before and after, and then there's also some stuff in between that we do. So it's not a requirement to study abroad, but there is room to do that if you want. And I'm not sure if we've touched on it yet, but Purdue does sponsor people that want to go and study abroad, and there's lots of different programs to choose from. I know one of the aviation ones is like a tour of Europe. So they go to some of the major airports in Europe. I think they maybe get to tour part of Airbus. So there's a lot that they group in there. I think they've got a spring break one, and then they also have a Maymester one as well.
All right, very nice. I just want to mention, I know obviously right now, study abroad is not happening given the current situation that we're all in. But our Office of Globalization, that's the Polytechnic Study Abroad Department. So they are the ones that partner with different institutions, give you the experiences going for a full semester, spring break trips, Maymesters, summer sessions. Hopefully that will be able to happen in the coming months for when the situation kind of resolves itself and becomes a little more flexible. But we'll just keep an eye on that as things move on. But study abroad, Office of Globalization for Polytechnic. And I think there's over 400 study abroad experiences throughout the entire university. So there's a lot of ways to do that experience abroad if you wanted to do that. And then this is kind of a general question. I'm going to turn to, let's see here. Let's turn to Emmani real quick, since you're finishing up your freshman year. We have a question. Just is it hard to keep grades up, A's and B's? How does that work? What kind of time do you spend outside of the classroom to make sure you're maintaining those grades?
It's really not that hard to maintain your grades. It all comes down to time maintenance. So in your schedule, you have classes, but your classes aren't going to be like in high school, a block schedule or a consistent schedule from like 7 to 3. You have breaks in between. So my suggestion is that throughout the day, you do work while you can, while you're out and about throughout the day. And when you get back, do some work. But there's definitely time for free time. You actually have a lot of free time, as long as you maintain and do what you need to do. When you have available time, like don't waste any time in college. Like in gaps in between, yes, you have to eat, yes, rest, but do work, stay on top of it, work with groups. It's totally possible to maintain A's and B's in college. It's totally possible. I have friends that as a freshman, they maintained a 4.0. I'm not saying it was easy, but they definitely did it. They maximized their time, worked whenever they could. They weren't afraid to call people and ask how to do this, work in groups. Yeah, it's possible.
All right. Thank you for that feedback. And then Lindsay Drake, would you mind commenting on, and I'll kind of move this question to everybody, what kind of interaction and feedback responsiveness do you have with your faculty members? Like how do you work with them outside of the classroom situation?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely depends on the class and the way it's structured. But I would say that all of my professors are accessible when it comes down to it. Back when I was in user experience design, that's definitely a smaller community of people. So when you're in your learning studio class, which you have to take every semester, that's just you and your cohort, the people that are in your grade as well, and your professor. Your professor is super accessible in that situation. You can communicate over Slack and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different methods of communication that professors will use. Now that I'm in organizational leadership, I've had all sorts of kind of different ways of connecting with my professors, especially with this current situation. So like for my 213 class that I was talking about earlier, we have been setting up like WebEx meetings with my professor because it's a group project. So it would be my group and my professor. So there's definitely a bunch of different ways to reach out to your professors, and they're always willing to help, especially them and the TAs. Between both professors and TAs, you're always guaranteed to have some sort of a resource.
All right, very nice. And then Orlando, could you share about your faculty members in your department, please?
Yeah, of course. I would say for me, I'm kind of got used to this. It's kind of funny. Since the beginning, my faculty have always been very good at just communicating with us, not in person, but through phone calls, messages. They have actually given us their personal phone numbers just because I'm assuming a smaller course, not many students in it. So I could literally just shoot them a text or call them or shoot them an email. And we'll set up a meeting via, FaceTime or phone call or meet up sometime during the office. But right now, obviously, it's all through WebEx and phone call right now. But I would say the availability with them is very easy since most of them own companies and like are consultants for other like construction companies and etc. outside of teaching. I would say they've always been very good at like I always like to tell them that they're working 24/7 because they really are. They're going from teaching classes to doing it, going to job site, etc. But they're always very good to just call. I can give them a call. One time I gave my professor a call in at 6 in the morning because he told me to always let him know if we wouldn't be able to go to class. So he said shooting him a message or calling him would be fine. He was already up by 5:30 and he called me. He was like, why are you calling me right now this early? I'm like, just kidding, I'm up already. I'm like, oh, okay. I was telling you I'm going to be late to class. But no, they've been very understandable and always working with us to make sure that we're, getting everything we need.
Very nice. And Erin, how would you describe your faculty in your area?
I would say that they're like, it's weird because like when I was coming into college, I was expecting like the professors to be these like kind of like big, like kind of scary people. Like they're like kind of very serious and it's like get to work, like you're only here for the work. But actually they're just people. At least like, well, I'm not gonna say just for computer graphics. They're all just people. Just the thing is you have to take the time to get to know them. Particularly in computer graphics, like oftentimes like when you have like classes with them and like you're in your labs with them, they might be just going around like doing rounds, like it's just time for you to like do your own work and they'll just walk up to you and you'll just have a conversation about literally nothing. Like one of my professors, he walked up to me and he was like, yeah, like Frozen, the Rock is like the worst villain I've ever seen in cinema. And I was like, okay, this is a strange conversation that I wouldn't expect with a professor, but this definitely happens. So I guess I'm just going through this to say that professors, they're here to help you. They want to help you learn, but they're also people. So don't be afraid to talk to them because they want to talk to you just like you might want to talk to them. So that's my experience with them.
All right. And then Lindsay Harper, how would you talk about your faculty in CIT?
I love all the faculty in CIT. All of the CIT professors are there to build you up and there to make sure that you are coming out of Purdue the best self that you can be. I've had professors that have emailed me. Actually, my professor, he just emailed me this morning because I would consistently go to his office the same time every Tuesday, and I would ask him for help in my lab. Sometimes I didn't need help. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding the material. And then he emailed me today because he said, Lindsay, I just want to make sure I just want to reach out to see if you need any help. And he took time out of his day and out of his schedule right now to just reach out to make sure that I was okay. I had a professor when I was contemplating changing my major back to computer information technology. I walked into his office and I asked if he had a few minutes to chat because I was contemplating the switch, and he sat down and talked to me for 2 hours, walked me to another professor. The three of us sat down for another hour and then walked to my advisor. And they did all of that. I think it was the middle of like a Wednesday, and they had nothing was more important to them than making sure that I was okay and making sure that I was making the right decision. So they really make sure that they're there for you. And it's just because from a very early time at Purdue, it's kind of like encouraged to go out to your professor and just meet with them, knock on their doors. If they're open, just peep in and like say hi, because you see them every day in lecture. So you might as well like get to know them on like a more personal level, because a lot of the professors that you see your freshman year will be teaching some of your upper level classes as well. So it's good to maintain those relationships with them.
I think that's definitely some good advice. Get that relationship built for later on, for sure. And then Emmani, how are the SOET engineering technology faculty for your experience thus far?
They're like amazing as well. They're there to help you. They know that they've been in your position. They're there to help you, and they want you to understand. So, for example, I'm gonna talk about Miss Nancy Denton. She's like one of the nicest ladies that you'll ever meet. If you're in ET, chances are that you'll have her. Like if you have a materials class, if you're in MET or ET, chances are you'll have her. She's one of the nicest ladies. If you go by her office hours, you can just chat it up, talk about anything. If I go to, I'm in a lot of electrical classes, so it's a lot. It's a lot of upperclassmen that know as well. But to touch on faculty, like office hours, they're super nice. They want you to understand the material. There was one time where I was going to miss a class because I had to go home for a weekend early. I went up to one of my professors right after he had a class. I didn't email him before. I probably should have emailed him before, but I just popped in. I was like, hey, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. Can you tell me what we're going to talk about in class tomorrow? He literally stopped what he was doing. He was on the way to a meeting, and he just briefly told me, like, went through the lecture with me, pulled up the lecture on his computer and went through the lecture with me. So they want you to understand. They want you to understand. They're here for you.
All right, very nice. And then Jacob, for aviation, what's the faculty like over there?
Yeah, everybody's kind of already covered a lot of it. Just the fact that the faculty truly, they care about you. They want you to know what you're doing. In terms of office hours, it can be, I know somebody said, I can't remember who, it can be kind of intimidating at first. If you're in a lecture hall and they say, hey, here are my office hours, and you're not knowing what to expect, but they have those for a reason. They want you to come in, they want you to ask questions. A lot of times that's when you'll get to know them, they'll get to know you. You kind of develop that relationship down the line, junior, senior year. You may use that professor whose office hours you started going to. You may use them for a reference letter. And specifically out at the airport, with it being kind of a localized area, whether you're taking classes or you're out in the sim lab or the dispatch building, you're going to see all the same people in and out. You kind of get to know all their faces. They start seeing your faces and knowing you. Flight specifically, you're assigned an instructor for the semester. But if for some reason yours isn't available, all the faculty out there, if they're free, they would love to get in the plane and go. They love to fly. They love to teach. They want to show you their method, and they want you to progress. So everybody around there is super helpful, super flexible with schedules, like everybody's already said. I've not had a bad experience with faculty. Everybody's been great.
Great. That's awesome to hear. Real quick, is anybody part of the Honors College? Okay. We just had a question from the chat about if anybody is and what kind of experience they have, but I think it's honors.purdue.edu, and I believe they're doing some virtual chats like this as well. So keep an eye on for that for the person who asked that question. They still, the entire university is trying to do this type of thing to make sure you get connected with the different departments and resources you want. Another question we got was, what kind of support will be given to first-year students if we have to face online classes for the fall semester? And I'm going to respond to that first. Like I just mentioned, the entire university is really put forth a ton of effort to make sure that the current students are having their classes and as good of an experience as we can for them. But places like our Academic Success Center, part of our Student Success Department, they have virtual sessions that you can attend. Our Writing Lab, you have the same opportunities there. Our cultural centers are doing virtual events for our students. Our best program, Building Excellence for Students in Technology, we have our best mentors. They're doing the same thing. So there's going to be a lot of different resources. And as we move forward, if this situation keeps going and we need to do that online situation, we will be better prepared for it now that we've gone through this half a semester almost of dealing with this situation. We're just going to keep moving forward and keep innovating as we go forward with the situation. So if that needs to happen, there will be plenty of resources and plenty of ways for our students to stay connected, even if they aren't here with us on campus. And then Emmani, I'm gonna go back to you real quick. Since you're a freshman, you just finished up your first year, you may have you've been going or went through this process of being admitted and going through that college choice. What were some of the last minute questions or things you were wondering about that kind of helped solidify your choice to come to the Polytechnic?
Well, I knew that I wanted to be here, so it wasn't that many questions that I had left. But overall, generally, one question that I had was, how was I going to get around campus? Wow, I can't have a car. How am I going to get around campus? But I was pleased to find out that we have a bus app that we can download that takes us almost to many places on campus and some places off campus. So I didn't have to worry about that. As far as Polytechnic, through going through meetings like this, YouTube Lives, I pretty much had my questions answered before I came. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, no, I'm glad we were able to do that for you. Anybody else and remember their time going through their admission process and any questions that you had maybe that popped up? Lindsay, I think you can see you nodding your head. You have anything you want to share? Sorry, Lindsay Harper.
Oh, me? Okay, me?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, you.
Okay. Sorry. I had two questions. One, I had the same question that Emmani had. One, how was I going to find my classes? And two, how was I going to get around campus? Going off what Emmani said, I don't know anybody that lives on campus that drives to class. There is no reason to do it. You walk, you ripstick, you bike, you skateboard, you scooter, rollerblade, you get to class. And so that was one thing. And then the other thing was I didn't know how I was going to be able to find my classes on the first day. Because all my classes are spread out in all these different buildings, especially because general education classes are not in the Polytechnic Institute. They're normally elsewhere. I am not gonna lie, I Google mapped it for like the first week. I had my phone, but I had it discreetly because I wanted to make sure that no one knew I was a freshman. Also, I stopped and I asked people where this building was or where this building was, and other Purdue students are really surprisingly eager to help you. They want to make sure that you know where you're going because they were a freshman just like you were, so they understand the struggles. And then the other question that I had was, how was I going to adjust being an out-of-state student? I come from a big city, and I was going to Indiana, my first time in Indiana, and I was going to be there, and I didn't know how I was going to adjust small things. I didn't know how I was going to go to the doctor or the dentist, or if I needed to get groceries, because for some reason I thought I needed groceries as a freshman. I did not. I lived on the dorms. But small things like that. And surprisingly, it was really easy for me to adjust being out of state because the people that I surrounded myself with were really, really good people, and they were good company to have. So I never felt like I was missing home because the people that I surrounded myself with kind of morphed into my home. And then I would fly home for breaks whenever I needed to.
All right. I was just gonna, to your out of state comment, Purdue is roughly every year enrollment is about 50%, 51, 52% Indiana residents. And then the rest of it is mixed up with out-of-state students and a very large international student population as well. So we have students coming from all over the world, all over the country. So you're going to meet people from everywhere. So yeah, you may be, if you're out of state or international student, you may feel like you're going to be lost, but there's very likely going to be people in that same situation that you can connect with and from same background, similar towns, similar areas, similar states, similar countries that you're going to be able to connect with very easily through the university. And then I'm going to turn it over to Orlando, because I think Orlando, you're finished up your sophomore year, correct? And you did you have any questions, anything you were wondering about as you were making that choice as well?
I guess that one questions I had was when I was first coming into it. It was not so much about getting lost because I always felt very confident in my sense of direction. It was so more about just the aspect of how we get involved in college, because that was one thing I was very involved in high school, so I wanted to continue that involvement. So I was just more nervous, if anything, of going out to these call outs that we had in the beginning of the semester for different clubs and activities, and trying to get to those activities and then trying to make friends through that, because there's always that one awkward, that first meeting is always awkward because not many people talk, and they talk, this is usually the basic stuff like, oh, what's your name, where you're from, what's your major. But once you get past that phase, you have to go through that. It was pretty easy getting adjusted to everything else. But most of that other questions were answered during STAR, through my faculty advisors and some professors I was in contact with before attending Purdue. So I felt like I was pretty set up for Purdue, besides just the nervous part behind it.
All right, very cool. So I'm going to ask one more question, and it's the same question I'll go through with each of our panelists, and Orlando, we'll start with you. What is one piece of advice you would give to incoming freshmen for just anything related to Purdue? What's that one piece of advice you would want to share?
Yeah, I'm gonna quote my Purdue coach, Purdue Promise coach. That's just a financial help program I'm part of. He told me the first day when I met with him during STAR, he told me to just he was really blunt with me. He's like, honestly, I'm gonna be blunt with you. I'm gonna be your coach for the next 4 years. I need you to just let go of your high school ego. And he wasn't trying to like insult me or anything. It was just like it was kind of true. From high school, we have like those those friend groups and all these things, and we have this mindset of like, oh, I really don't want to make other friends. I'm very comfortable. It was just I'm very comfortable in this general area. So my biggest tip to everyone is just try new activities, try things that is out of your comfort zone. If you're not comfortable about it, go try it out. You might like it. You never know. You might be really good at it, and you may make. If not, you might make really good friends. I know I went to like a tango club activity event. Sorry, a tango event one time, and I did not enjoy it at all. But I made really good friends. Actually, one of them is really good friends of mine. I just got finished with a call with them like yesterday night. But it was like, you'll make good friends no matter what if you don't end up liking the activity and trying new things out.
All right, nice, very cool. And yeah, I don't know if tango would be for me either. And then Jacob, what's some piece of advice you would want to give to the students?
So Orlando touched on getting involved. So I guess I'll take the academic side of it. I would say find what works best for you early on. So for me, like having stuff laid out in the syllabus ahead of time for the semester, that was new to me. So in high school, I kind of just homework for the night would kind of just be in my head, and I didn't really have to think about much further out. So developing a calendar to schedule when your tests are and when projects are due that are in the syllabus. And studying as well is different for me. Studying in high school was kind of quick, and luckily, unfortunately, I guess maybe I wasn't much of a studier in high school. So coming to college, that was a change for me. So the biggest thing that I would say is find what works. Like I found my study system, I found my calendar, and went to office hours, talked to professors, and I found what works for me. So there's not one way that's better than another. It's what works best for you. And finding that earlier and getting set up your freshman year will set you up for success sophomore, junior, senior year.
All right, very cool. And then Lindsay Harper, what's your piece of advice?
My piece of advice is during that first week of freshman year, when you're starting to come to all of your classes and things like that, most of the classes that you're going to be taking with other freshmen, whether that's entry-level classes in your major or freshman level gen eds or something like that. So most of the people that are in your classes are going to be just as nervous about coming to college as you are. They might not have friends yet. They probably don't have any friends in that class. So one advice that I wish that I really had followed was just to reach over to the person next to me, just tap them on the shoulder and say hi. Just ask them where they're from, ask them what their major is, because the people that you kind of like meet, especially in your department specific classes, are really going to be the people that you can rely on for group projects, that you can rely on for study help. You can rely on for any questions that you have. So making sure that you have that core group, that you establish it early on, really helps. I had one of my closest friends who's in my major, her and I are always in group projects together and things like that. She met me because she stood up in a CIT meeting for out-of-state students and yelled at me. So maybe not that extroverted, but like just being able to like talk to someone or talk to a few of the people that you sit around can really make a big difference.
All right. Yeah, I think I like that. Get that first foot out there and meet some new people. Very good. All right, Emmani, what's your piece of advice that you give for incoming freshmen?
The piece of advice that I would give is to let you guys know that it's okay to say no. Okay, you don't always have to go out. You don't always have to do this, do that. If you have something that you need to do, get that done, and then there will be time for that. I promise you there will be time for that. I've had to miss group dinners or going to the correct play game or something like that different times, but I was able to go out on the weekend because I stayed in during the school week to get my work done. So it's okay to say no, it's okay to say no.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to think about. Obviously you're all here for academics, getting your degree, so making sure that gets accomplished and successfully so is very important. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to keep in mind for sure. And then Erin, what's your piece of advice for our students?
So my piece of advice is kind of contrary somewhat to what the popular belief would be. You go into college and everyone's like, oh yeah, go meet some people, go do all these things. And yeah, that's really important. Go make your friends, go try your new things. But also remember that it's okay to be alone sometimes. You don't have to come to college and find your best friends for life there. It's probably gonna happen, but you don't have to put that pressure on yourself. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to go eat lunch by yourself. It's okay just kind of to have a weekend by yourself when all your friends go out. It's literally okay just kind of to take some time and just kind of focus on you, because it's really easy in college to get kind of caught up in the friends and the activities and the school and the internships and the jobs, and all of a sudden you look up and you haven't really taken a breather in months. So it's okay, just even though all of these things are really cool and fun and new and you want to get into all of them, just remember that sometimes you have to invest in yourself, and being alone is the way to do that. So it's okay. Don't worry about it. You're not a loner. You're not antisocial. You're just taking the time that you need to stay healthy for yourself.
Yes, that is very smart advice. I like that a lot. And then lastly, Lindsay Drake, what's your piece of advice?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that college has given me outside of the academic area is college is a time for personal growth. If you were to talk to senior year of high school Lindsay, you would not recognize her if you were trying to compare her to who I am today. So college is a time to kind of understand yourself, not only learn about the things in your major and the classes that you're taking, but also to learn about how you like to operate, how you like to do things, the things that you're interested in, whether that's things that are in your major or not. Get involved in those random clubs that you think don't matter. All of I'm involved in Wiley Radio, which I have a radio show every Sunday just for fun. It's just something to keep me tied to the music that I used to do. So just get involved in the things that you're interested in, and take that time to reflect on all the personal growth, meet new people, try new things, do things that are a little bit outside of your comfort zone. That's where you grow the most. So just let this be a time to kind of let go of the different insecurities and things that you've had. And just, it's time to kind of reset and figure out who you want to be.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's definitely 4 years of a lot of hard work, a lot of potential fun, and yeah, a lot of exploration and growth for sure. Well, I just want to say thank you to our student ambassador panelists for sharing their experiences and their perspective, what it's like to be a Polytechnic student here at the university. Thank you all very much for watching at home and sharing your questions through the chat. Like I mentioned before, if you had a question that didn't get answered either in the chat or as we were discussing everything tonight, please send us an email, techrecruit@purdue.edu. You can visit our webpage as well. There's an admitted student landing page now with tons of resources, links to these videos that you can see, and just lots of ways to get connected. You can request a phone call from us, from one of our staff members as well. You can see the profiles for all of our student ambassadors. So if you had any questions that you want to contact the student ambassador directly, you can do that. We also have a bunch more of these broadcasts coming up. Each of our academic departments is going to be hosting one of these YouTube lives starting next week. So if you go to polytechnic.purdue.edu/live, you will see the date and time and the link available for your specific department and when that's going to be happening. So faculty members, advisors, other students are going to be involved in all of those broadcasts as we go forward for the next 3 weeks. So please check those out. We're also trying to plan one for our Women in Technology student organization and other opportunities with WIT. So keep an eye on your email and that webpage as well. So we're trying to finalize those details to give you that experience beyond just these general broadcasts in our departments as well. So once again, thank you to our panelists. Thank you for watching at home. You can watch this again later on. But again, please reach out to us if you have any questions or need anything at all. We are here for you. So please let us know what we can do to help. So with that, I just want to say thank you again for joining us and have a great night and boiler up.